Hola, gringas y gringos, and welcome to
Gringos R Us.
Expats with a Plan.
I'm Mark.
I'm Gina.
This week, our Airbnb in Ajijic coming up next.
Welcome back. Today's video is a really quick trip tour from Querétaro to Lake Chapala.
Took us about 4 hours to get there. Easy drive. We really enjoyed it. Nice roads. Boom. Hope you enjoy the video. We went from Querétaro basically to Guadalajara and came down. We spent about 700 or 800 pesos in tolls on the drive.
La nieve del enero no se quiere derretir. Al lado de nuevas flores tu nombre pude escribir. No llega la primavera y tu nombre sigue.
Our Airbnb is actually located in the town of San Antonio, Tlayacapan.
Which is almost center between Ajijic and Chapala, which made it very convenient for us to be able to go back and forth between the two.
Que bajen las aguas de las montañas, que pongan nido los pajarillos, que canten ríos y los amores, que vuelvan a vivir cada primavera. Yo aquí te espero, sigo esperando que tú me...
And this is the part where you would normally see the Airbnb tour. We had to remove it. We had to remove it because the host submitted a privacy violation with YouTube. Now, no one has ever done this before. We have had stays in Airbnbs where they literally had it written out in detail that this Airbnb has a no video recording policy. And I reached out to the host and I said, hey, we have a YouTube channel. We'd like to give tours of the Airbnb. And the host went and viewed our channel, approved it. I even gave him the opportunity to look at the video before we released it. And then he turned around and he asked us to make one for his website. You know, nobody ever complains about the tour of the Airbnb. It's always just the two of us in it. And we just highlight everything that's in it. You know, here's all the silverware and the pots and pans, and look at the furniture. And we had nothing negative at all to say about this Airbnb. However, this video is now going to serve strictly as a PSA for what to do when you have an Airbnb host violation, which is what happened to us.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, when the host is unable to provide basic services, you know, water, gas, things that are required to be able to live, that's a violation. And Airbnb quickly sided with us on that and went, no, this is unacceptable. Gives you an idea how seriously the Airbnb took this as well. And since this has occurred, we have gone back and looked at the listing at Airbnb, and we can only surmise that it is possible that they have forced him to remove it because they blocked out all the dates. We can see that, but we've had friends and subscribers here that we've talked to who've tried to access it and they only get an error. So
Yeah, the page doesn't even come up for them. We can surmise that either he has voluntarily removed the listing or Airbnb followed through, which they told me on the phone, this could happen, that he could lose his listing with them because it was a clear host violation against Airbnb policies. You know, we have stayed in a lot of places and we have never gotten less than a 5-star guest review from any of our hosts. But as soon as we left this Airbnb, he gave us a very lukewarm review. We are some of the best Airbnb guests that are out there. We know this because we are clean, we are considerate, we are quiet. Sometimes we leave the place in better condition than we found it. But this host, no. His complaint was that Mark was smoking on the patio and he got numerous complaints. However, he never once contacted us to tell us about the complaints he was getting because he wasn't getting them. There was one person there who didn't like it, and we found out almost at the end of our stay that the entire building was smoke-free. But he's got an ashtray in the unit. And I'm going to show you this clip right now. This is what he had to say about why there was an ashtray in their unit.
The whole thing was...
It's petty.
It is.
It's petty.
It's very petty.
And so he made the complaint about the privacy issue on the Airbnb video that we had up. YouTube is always very conservative in how they handle these things. I did submit a rebuttal for their review, but I don't really anticipate that we're going to win that battle. So we have re-uploaded this video without the actual Airbnb tour. This is a PSA.
Yes.
On what to do when your host has violated basic Airbnb policies. And it's also a PSA on what retaliation and retaliatory reviews are all about. And I also firmly believe that this whole thing with the YouTube video was just another way
it was.
of striking out at us because the listing has been affected.
You know, normally we don't put a whole lot of faith in Airbnb, but we do have to give them the credit on this one. They instantly sided and went, no, this is unacceptable.
It's a lovely unit. But
the only negative was the host. He did not attempt to get the problem resolved.
well, he did. He did. He owed over 40,000 pesos and he offered them 10,000. And because this has happened in the past before with the HOA, they flatly refused and they said no, they wanted the full amount.
Which I get.
Other than that, we were stuck in the middle of a bad situation as guests. We have no idea what the HOA is and is not allowed to do, and we have no idea what the history is with this host and the HOA.
No, but had he been upfront and honest with us, we very easily could have arranged for other, accommodations in the area and been able to enjoy our stay. We could have just gone to Chapala and we could have had a more enjoyable stay. And we would have avoided all of this.
Yeah, the whole thing is just, this is the petty drama. This is the type of petty drama that we were encountering in various parts of this location. What can you do?
And it's following us.
What can you do? So the rest of the video is mostly intact, and it's just, mostly scenes, shots around the Lake Chapala site where we were located, and that's it. Sorry that we can't give you more on it. I'm still keeping the price of what we paid, but I am not going to tell you where it is, and I'm not going to give you any details about the interior.
Nope.
Sorry. Back to the video. Look at these places nestled into the cliff. That's incredible. I wonder how hard it is to drive up to those houses. And these mountains are just stunning. I mean, the clouds just hang right over the tops. There's a reason why people love coming here. I can see it. I can see it. It's just stunning.
Good way to get some exercise.
There he goes. Work it, Mark. Work it.
I'm trying.
Hot tub party.
I don't know about the party part, but at least it's a hot tub.
We're basically cooking up some gringo juice. A little gringo stew.
Just say, I ain't judging that last day. No.
Sometimes when we get up in the morning and we look out, all you see is clouds. Fog bank on top of the lake, totally obstructing the mountains, right? And then when the sun comes up, it hits, and all you see is glare as it bounces on the water vapor. And then as you come down here, you can start to see the mountains a little bit. It changes every day, all day.
Here we are with another beautiful morning. And unlike yesterday, look how beautifully clear it is today. You can totally see the other side of the lake.
Oh, the bats are out. Oh my goodness. Look at them go. I wonder what kind of bats they are.
And here's another really beautiful view of Lake Chapala with big puffy clouds. There's like a moving island of hyacinth out there. Let's zoom in a little on that. Every day, this mass of hyacinth moves around the lake. It's amazing how it gets around.
So what did you think? It's pretty beautiful in that region.
The view was exceptional. I mean, every day you got to wake up and see a little bit something different. So it wasn't like you did the, oh, ho-hum, same day, different view. No,
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, okay. You always sort of wondered, okay, where's the hyacinth at? Because some days they were all bunched together.
Yep.
Others, there'd be little pockets floating all over the lake. You never knew what you were going to get.
You could see all different types of birds flying around. I used my bird app and recorded quite a few interesting, unique bird calls. And then we also had the ever-changing clouds. Someday the clouds covered everything, and others days it was just beautiful, big, puffy, bright clouds, beautiful sunsets reflecting light off the clouds. It's quite lovely.
I mean, it fit the purpose for what we needed there as a home base until it didn't.
I mean, the selling point obviously is the location and view. I mean, that is the selling point for this Airbnb. So let's talk a little bit about what didn't work. And I was very generous on our Airbnb review. I probably could have been a lot harsher. But this is one place that did not get a perfect 5-star review.
No.
Let's see.
I mean, because when there's minimal problems and the host is working to remedy them, we're not going to hold that against them.
No.
When the host is responsible for the problems and is not remedying, doing anything to try and make life easier for us, then that is one where, okay, nope, you're getting dinged.
Let's give a very brief overview of the situation. This is a condominium that is potentially timeshares, and the host that we had owns it 9 months out of the year. And starting around January each year, a different person owns it for 3 months out of the year.
Probably snowbirds coming into winter down there, which I get that.
Sure. And as such, there is basically like an HOA fee. There is a upkeep fee that has to be paid each year. And that fee includes things such as the gas that's used,
And the water.
the water, and keeping the grounds, keeping the pool
Yeah.
maintenance, all that. So the short version is our hosts owed over 40,000 pesos in fees. And it wasn't the first time this has happened. And somebody who was under the direction of the head of this HOA organization came knocking on our door one day and regretfully had to tell us with a little, compassion in his eyes that he's got to turn off our water.
Yeah.
Now, before this happened, we actually had no gas to cook on for 2 days. And it was probably longer than 2 days because we had gone out to eat a couple of times. But the day that we decide we want to cook, there's no gas. And I let the host know. And the host left us hanging for 2 days. So we had to continually go out to find things to eat until we had gas. And how did they remedy that? 2 gentlemen came to the door and they replaced the tank.
They changed out the tank. But wait, there's more to the story. There shouldn't even be a tank because the HOA, the building, supplies all the gas to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So his way of circumventing getting the gas turned off is to bring in a grill-sized propane tank.
One of the small ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you use for your Weber grill, or we have one in Querétaro for our fire pit, and bring that in and run the gas stove off of that.
That is illegal. That is a building code violation, probably everywhere in Mexico. Because even my place at Querétaro told us, oh, no, you can't do that. We didn't report it to HOA people or anything. It got brought up in conversation regarding the hot water, blah, 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 because we were talking about water with the HOA person.
Yes.
And when he heard what we said about the gas, he wanted to see it. Well, here it is.
Well, because they were not only supposed to cut off the water, they were supposed to cut off the gas as well.
Yeah. They discovered that not only has he not paid his over $40,000 worth of
40,000 pesos.
pesos, yes, you're right, sorry, 40,000 pesos plus, he also has illegally brought in a small propane tank against building code regulations.
His workaround to keep from continuing to not pay. It's one of those where you go, okay, I can get it. You're in arrears. That happens. But when you have arranged a workaround, this is not the first time.
Oh, no. And we were told this was not the first time this has happened. He's done this before. So this representative basically said, all right, how long are you going to be here? And we had about 3 weeks left, roughly.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry you're in the middle of this. I'm going to turn the water down to a trickle.
The HOA people were great. I mean, they had compassion for us and went, look, you need to be able to take a shower. You need to be able to wash dishes. You need to be able to flush a toilet. And so, all those things, became a little harder because the water was very slow, but were doable.
We could flush a toilet. Taking a shower was because it really was barely trickling out. This is the water here. This isn't horrible, but if you saw the pressure that it had, you would see the difference. Now, that's okay for brushing teeth, but now here's the shower. Okay, so the shower's turned off, and now I have turned it on. It is turned on. There is just a drip.
And sometimes it's a little bit more than that, but right now it's nothing.
We knew what was going on.
Yes.
We knew. But what we said to the host was, hey, there's something going on with the water. We don't have hardly any water. And this was on a Friday morning. And if it wasn't paid by about 1 or 2 o'clock that afternoon, there would be nowhere for them to send the money. You couldn't do a transfer. So the host knew. He said he would look into it. He left us hanging all weekend with no resolution. When I pressed the host on Monday about the water, again, we know why it's off. We just didn't tell him that we knew why it was off. He came up with excuses. He's working with management. He's doing this. He's doing that. This went on for a solid week. And he basically ended up in the end telling us that he's talking to the owner. Well, guess what, folks? The owner was his father.
I mean, the good news was we did go to Guadalajara for a weekend, so we were able to take our dirty clothes, wash our clothes there at the Airbnb in Guadalajara that weekend, get a good shower.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and then it was when we got back, it suddenly was like,
Still no water.
no.
No. And so I raised a complaint with Airbnb. Bottom line is Airbnb sided with us immediately because water is a basic amenity that
Yeah.
has to be provided. And if it's not being provided, that's a violation for the host. And they can lose their listing. Well, they didn't lose their listing. But what happened, and this is probably why they didn't lose their listing, Airbnb would give us 30% of each day that we were affected by this.
Gives you an idea how much money they're making because, well, we'll give you the owner's cut. It was about what they were doing.
And it is. And the owner agreed to 100%, which we did not ask for.
No.
So I was a little more lenient than I probably should have been because we did get our money back with very little fight from the host. So, and my parting words with the host is, look, we understand that people get behind on their bills sometimes.
But be honest.
But be honest about it. He never admitted what was going on, but we knew. And we eventually had to say, look, we know you're in arrears. We know that's what the issue is.
It wasn't hard to figure out because as you drove in, you saw the entry.
Yeah.
You know, and when we had to stop at the guard shack, well, on the guard shack, on the wall right there as you came in, is a whiteboard. And it has every unit that is in arrears.
That pretty much is standard for
No.
every Pravada we've ever been in.
And so there listed was our unit and a staggering number that nobody else even came close to that number. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was one of those where, you know, you can try and BS us, but it's sitting right there in black and white for us to be able to look at and go, okay, you know.
And I'm going to say this. One of the reasons why people are not entirely 100% honest in their reviews on Airbnb is because there is retaliation. It does happen. And I feel in this case, it happened because we had a bad experience and we got our money refunded back with no fight from him. He ended up leaving a review on us, the first semi-lukewarm review that anyone on Airbnb has ever given us, that he received a lot of complaints because Mark was smoking on the patio and it's a no-smoking building. All right, number one, the Airbnb listing does say no smoking. That typically means inside the unit.
Correct.
We had an outside patio.
We have seen locations that have listed this is a non-smoking property.
Yeah.
Then that means
We don't-
next.
we-
I mean, just
We don't even select it. It didn't say that. It didn't say smoke-free building.
No.
It said no smoking. That means no smoking in the building.
And in their pictures of the description of the building, with of the unit that you get to see, there is a shot in there where they open one of the drawers to show you what's in there, and voila, right inside there is an ashtray. Now I notice things like this because it's one of the things that goes, okay, you know what? If they're putting an ashtray in there,
They
that
want you to
means
use it.
They want you to use it,
Yeah.
and so I'm respectful. Go outside and have my cigars outside, and Yes, we had some people that did register some complaints about it.
Some
And-
people or just one?
Well, one. And so it was like, okay, I'll try and cut back and do this. And we were going to Guadalajara, for the weekend, and it was come back. And then it was just like, cut it a week early. We're going home.
Yeah, so we left a week early. It's astonishing to me that you can be outside in the fresh air and the breeze is coming up on you and it's dissipating all this, but there's still going to be someone who's going to complain about it. That's fine. That's fine. List it in your listing.
Yeah.
Non-smoking building, inside and out. Okay?
Of course, it's also interesting that there was a ashtray down in the parking garage as you entered the elevator area.
Yep.
And it was being used.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And the ashtray, I pointed it out in our video, was in the cupboard. And so the HOA representative who had come to talk to us about the water situation, it got mentioned to him, and he goes, yeah, this is a smoke-free building. I said, are you serious? There's an ashtray in the cupboard. And he just smiled.
He looked at me and went, it actually smells good. It reminds me of when I used to smoke a pipe, but,
Yeah.
And he was like, you're only here for a little bit, just so.
Yeah, but it was interesting in the review that our host gave us. That was what he mentioned, that we were smoking in a smoke-free building, and he received several complaints.
That he never stated that the whole building was smoke-free.
Not only did he not state that the whole building was smoke-free, he never once reached out to us to tell us he was getting any complaints. So I firmly believe that because of our negative experience with the water and the gas, this was his retaliatory comment.
If that's all he's got to go on,
That's okay. The video evidence and the photos speak for themselves. I just basically responded to it and said, well, we did know there was one person complaining, and we also know that there is an ashtray near the elevator and there is an ashtray in the unit.
provided by you.
So I said you should remove the ashtray and you should update your listing to say the entire building is smoke-free.
Well, and the other thing,
Again.
and we would never have rented it.
Exactly.
And the other thing about that would have quickly been, if you are a smoker, here is the smoking area, which, sometimes you go, okay, we've been to resorts where it's been, okay, the smoking area is a 15-minute walk. Well, okay, let me go see. For a month, I would have been like,
No.
next.
We probably would have ended up in Hokotepec. Who knows? But the area itself was really quite beautiful. It's very, very gringo.
Yes. Yes.
If we were going to live there, we wouldn't live there. Not in that unit, not in that location.
Not in El Dorado.
No. And we'll talk more about that in the rest of the videos that are coming. Which reminds us, next week, our big review of Bruno's in Ajijic. The best
beef.
Anywhere that we've been in Mexico. Yeah.
Some of the best we've had anywhere, period.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to sharing that video with you next week. And that's our wrap-up of our Airbnb. You will find the link for the Airbnb below. Do keep in mind that a different owner has this Airbnb from starting in January.
For like 3 months.
For like 3 months. So if you want to avoid the host we had, and it's available, I recommend January, February, March.
But the question becomes, do they turn it back on because that one particular there's a lot of what ifs. So just keep in mind that unit you could be running into
I will say
situation.
this. Anytime we contacted the host, he was very quick to respond and he was pleasant. But there was a lot of misinformation at early check-in about access codes and things like that that had to be corrected because we couldn't even get into the building initially. and nobody would help us because it's a security issue, right?
They weren't just going to let two idiots walk
Right.
right in there and go, yeah, we're in this unit.
So
Really?
there was a lot of little things like that.
There were a lot of tiny little red flags that when you look back and you add it all up, you sort of go, yeah, it wasn't the best of stays.
No, but it really is a cute place. It's a very cute, functional, very modern place with the garbage disposal, and it's very small. I would not recommend it, despite the fact that there's 2 bedrooms. Don't recommend it for more than a couple.
Yeah.
The pool was always clean and very, very, very comfortably relaxing.
I mean, the only TV was in the bedroom. So
That's true.
It was
if
like,
you want to watch TV, you got to prop yourself up in bed. So that kind of stunk, but okay.
other than that,
Yeah, other than that, it was a great view and a very nice, clean, modern condo.
yeah.
And that is our review of our stay near Lake Chapala.
Glad we were back in Querétaro.
Yeah, we left early to go back to Querétaro.
Yeah.
And some hot water, or just how about just some water? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a wrap up of our Airbnb in the Lake Chapala area. We hope that you like it, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up. We sure do appreciate it. We are Gringos Are Us.
Expats with the plan.
Remember,
We're doing it. You can too.
And right over here
Up in smoke?
are videos that you might want to watch.
Damn, Cheech and Chong.
Hasta la próxima.
Adios.